Hi everyone. So you're probably wondering, why do I think Andrew Yang and Elon Musk have so many similarities? Well, firstly, they're both disruptors in their field. So Elon Musk has gone into the space industry, car industry, renewables, payments, and he's disrupted them all because the one thing that he has that a very few people go into an industry having is firstly, there's a lot of intelligence. Don't get me wrong about the existing framework of everything. There's a lot of intelligence, but very few people are actually practical, and the practical part makes a huge difference. When you look at ideas are great, but good ideas need good execution. So the reason Elon Musk usually comes in is because he's got good ideas and he's actually willing to execute on those ideas. So if you look at how he's done with Tesla, being a really good example, that it wasn't Elon Musk that brought in electric cars. Like before that, electric cars existed. Don't say, I won't say Elon Musk was the one that made electric cars, a reality. But it definitely helped accelerate the curve because we were going to head towards electric cars sooner or later because oil is running out. That's a fact, and you've got pressure to eventually change. But the problem with humanity is we don't change unless we've got the pressure. Like you imagine something you have to do, most people will wait till the last minute before they actually do it, and that's not great if it's if humanity is at stake. So that's kind of where I see a lot of similarities. Like Elon Musk and Andrew Yang are both in the forward looking, they've got a vision to benefit humanity. So going back to Tesla, you imagine a car company that wants to make a difference, and you must be thinking, there's so many established car companies. Surely they can use their billions and billions of dollars to affect change, but they don't have much incentive to change anything when they're especially being rewarded by billions of dollars. So before that, those car industries didn't think that electric cars were in demand in the first place. So you imagine all the cars that came out prior to that, they were ugly, they were slow, and there was no charging infrastructure. So when Elon Musk came in with Tesla, he thought, okay, we're going to install some really good infrastructure so wherever you go, you can charge your car. And then we're going to build a really beautiful, fast car that can go an amazing distance. And that all happened. And hence why Tesla's succeeding beyond everyone's imaginations, especially when it popped into the field 10 years ago and everyone thought it wouldn't survive. So if you look at Andrew Yang, he's actually in the beginning stages of this as well. There's a lot of doubt about what he can actually do. So firstly, everyone's thinking, okay, he doesn't have the support. We don't know. No one. The UBI isn't necessarily tried and tested for a whole nation. Like as Andrew Yang mentions, it's been tested in Alaska and it works for the last 40 years there. So why wouldn't it work for the whole country? But previously, there would have been some issues around how do we fund a UBI. Like money doesn't just come out of thin air, and we're not going to just pull it from areas that we need it just to give people pure money. Like that's not how the government usually works. The government usually allocates money based on certain needs and the policies that they affect, and that's how the government usually sees themselves as being better at allocating money than an average citizen would. So when we think about UBI is actually putting money into the people's hands and letting them decide. And when you're thinking about the current government, they would actually be thinking most of these people don't have common sense. They don't know how to spend this money. But that's not the reality. Most people actually know what their problems are. They can solve their own problems if they have the right amount of resources at their disposal. So whereas with the government, there's actually a lot of inefficiencies where they gather the money, then they give it back out, in the form of a certain scheme, and that scheme has to be heavily regulated. So not everyone benefits from that scheme. So when you consider what's been in the past has been everyone's come up with ideas, very similar ideas, but no one's been able to execute like, in terms of electric cars, no one's been able to execute like Elon Musk has. And right now in politics, you have someone who doesn't have special interests, someone who is very intelligent and also very practical. Andrew Yang has proved this with Venture for America, which was a non-profit. And the one thing that really drives a non-profit is having the right vision. And he has the right vision. And if you go and, be the president of a country, the one thing that really helps you is having a vision. So I think that's why he's a candidate that I think would do great things if elected, though it does rely on the people. Like, if you imagine Tesla, right? Tesla wouldn't be where it is if it relied on any sort of special interests. Like, they rely on the people. If no one supported Tesla, no one brought their cars, then Tesla would not be where it is today, because certainly the media agencies did not want to help them. Like, the good thing is that there's a lot of agencies that wanted to talk about Tesla, so eventually the news did spread, and it was such a phenomenal product that everyone would actually talk about it from person to person. And there's no more powerful marketing tool than the word of mouth, right? So the same thing with Andrew Yang. The news agencies aren't necessarily helping him, so there's no more powerful tool than the word of mouth. So if you know people, tell them about Andrew Yang. Hence, they start to understand what he's about. A lot of people don't know what he's about. If I ask you, apart from the popular candidates like Warren, Harris, Biden, Sanders, what are their main policies? And then if I ask you, okay, what's Delaney's policies? You probably wouldn't know what Delaney's policies are, and nor do I, because we don't really look into it. And the same thing is with Andrew Yang. A lot of people won't have heard of Andrew Yang, so they don't know what he stands for, so they don't know that there's $1,000 a month on offer. I bet you if you told them about it, a lot of people would be quite interested in his candidacy and also his policies. So that's kind of where I see it. So that's why, you have a kind of a situation where Andrew Yang's being censored by the media. So that's kind of one question that a lot of people don't understand. Like, why would you spend all this time and effort trying to disrupt someone if you didn't think he was actually going to cause a lot of disruption? The thing is, he is. Like, firstly, he's going to take away a lot of power away from the lobbyists who can use money to influence things if he gives everyone 100, democracy dollars. And also, his policy of $1,000 a month UBI not only creates more independence among the people, but it also adds in a VAT tax that will have to be charged to the big companies. A lot of companies do not want this tax, hence why they're more happy to have someone in who won't, do anything as dramatic as this, and for them to keep earning their big profits. So hence why they're kind of censoring him. So you think about Tesla, and Tesla was heavily censored. There were many bad headlines about it. If it was talked about, they were saying, "Oh, this car, there's no margins of the company. It's going to go bankrupt. There's no demand for the cars," and those headlines were endless. And you would probably be wondering, why is it this big, slander of Tesla? Well, because there's so many big oil companies out there that own so much interest in the media. And also, there's a lot of car companies that sponsor a lot of media agencies. Like, you look at the ads that pop up, and there'll be a ton of car ads. So when you think about them, they don't want to talk about anything that's great about electric cars. They want to slow it down as much as possible. And the thing about Yang as well is, if you slow his presidency, you can exactly kind of end it, because if he doesn't get enough support, it ends. It's as simple as that. There's no that if we hope long enough and hard enough, that eventually happens. Presidency has an expiry date. Electric cars don't necessarily have an expiry date because it can still continue to be a movement. The only possible way of starving Tesla is that eventually the money runs out. It can't fund itself and it has to go down. The thing with Andrew Yang is, if you starve him of that, like about people hearing about him, being able to read about his policies, then no one will actually know him. No one can actually support him. And by the election date, or the dates that do matter, he's not going to be on the stages. He's not going to be able to tell everyone what he stands for. And that's going to be quite crippling for the campaign. Like Andrew Yang is doing a tremendous job in terms of going to every single interview that he can to get the awareness that he needs. I think he will get there, but I think he definitely needs the help of the people. At the end of the day, the only way you can defeat the established kind of framework with all that special interest is if you, as an individual, go out there and try to make the changes for everyone. Hence why I like speaking about this, because for me, every time I speak about this, I hope someone else that's new can actually start listening to what Andrew Yang's about, and then hopefully that makes the change that that we want to make happen. The US has such a fundamental importance in terms of the world that if the US does something, chances are they can also get someone else to do something. So if the US can implement UBI, I guarantee you'll have other countries that are brave enough also to implement UBI. So it's not just a one country, one policy kind of situation. It's a one country with a whole worldwide affecting policy. So hence why I believe that if you get Andrew Yang in, he's going to make profound differences by being so practical and affecting really good and effective policies that it changes everyone's lives, and he makes an example to the whole world that they would want to follow suit. And it's because at the end of the day, automation isn't a US thing, it's a world thing. But you still have to get into a position of power to be able to make that difference. So in terms of that, I believe Andrew Yang and Elon Musk have those similarities in terms of the disruption they're coming in, and in terms of they're bringing in that disruption to make that difference in areas that have no desire to make a difference. You think about all the existing systems and structures. No one wants to come in and then make such a difference, because if you keep it as it is, you benefit in such a big way. Everyone benefits except the people on the ground level. And if you know you're the one that's going to lose out because of this, then you have an interest to actually help your candidates, or even if you don't believe in Yang, hopefully you believe in a candidate that has a good vision, and that wants to do something really special, not just trying to do something that's just small. Because at the end of the day, if you elect a career politician, no career politician wants to effect the change that would actually bring benefit for everyone. They just want to implement incremental change, because at the end of the day, most politicians, they can't come in and they can't just say, oh, we're going to change all this in a dramatic way, because that's one way to end your career. If everyone rejects that, no one else is going to accept you to continue. And the great thing about Andrew Yang is he doesn't care. If he goes for it and he doesn't get in, or he does get in, he's not going to try to play the political game and try to stay into the system. He wants to disrupt the system, and when he leaves, he wants to leave it in a better place. Currently, I think he's done a tremendous job in terms of bringing the awareness of UBI. Tesla's done, in terms of Elon Musk, he's done a tremendous job in terms of bringing awareness to electric cars. So, and he showed that it's definitely possible, and it definitely has to be done by someone. It's not just hope that that the change comes in. Change comes in when act. So that's kind of more my view that, why Andrew Yang has so many similarities as Elon Musk. Let me know if you agree. Like, I definitely think, um, this is Andrew Yang is a candidate that everyone was hoping for. Like, when everyone was trying to elect Trump, they believed him as being a person that wasn't a career politician and that could actually affect change because he didn't have the same political beliefs that everyone else did. He just wanted to do what he thought would be right. But in a sense, it's kind of ended up being worse because he's not only come in and disrupted everything, but he's done it in such a bad way. He's come in and he's disrupted partnerships. He's kind of destroyed trade. He's affected so many people's lives. Like, you could say he's done something really practical, but he's done things practical in a bad way that it affects so many people's lives. And I'm saying that literally Andrew Yang is the opposite of Donald Trump. He will be practical, and he is more intelligent, and he is going to do something that's going to be more effective in a good way. So that's why I would say I'm comparing Andrew Yang to Elon Musk, because he's coming in, he's disrupting a field, and he's going to bring a lot of good change. But he needs the support of the people, and I hope you as an individual see what he's trying to offer the whole world in a sense, and that he's able to be supported and brought into power. Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully this hasn't been too long, and until next time.